Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the hills of Zimbabwe, lived a young woman named Tafara. She was known for her kindness and beauty, but she carried a deep sadness within her heart. Tafara had always felt like a part of her was missing, like she was searching for something or someone she couldn't quite remember. Every night, Tafara would dream of a handsome young man. In her dreams, he would hold her hand and tell her stories of a past life they shared together. He called her by a name she did not recognize, and the love in his eyes felt so real, so familiar. Each morning, Tafara would wake up with a bittersweet feeling, longing for the man who only existed in her dreams. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Tafara decided to visit the village elder, Gogo Nyarai. Gogo Nyarai was a wise old woman who had seen many things in her lifetime. She was known for her knowledge of the spirit world and for helping villagers with their troubles. Tafara approached Gogo Nyarai's hut with a mixture of hope and fear. She knocked gently on the door, and a moment later, the elder appeared, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. "Come in, child," Gogo Nyarai said, her voice warm and inviting. Tafara entered the hut and sat down on a woven mat. The air inside was filled with the scent of herbs and incense. She took a deep breath and began to tell Gogo Nyarai about her dreams, about the man who visited her every night, and the love she felt for him. Gogo Nyarai listened carefully, nodding occasionally. When Tafara finished speaking, the elder sat in silence for a moment, deep in thought. "My dear," Gogo Nyarai said finally, "the man in your dreams is not just a figment of your imagination. He is a spirit, a soul from your past life who has come to find you." Tafara's eyes widened in surprise. "But why? Why has he come to me?" "The bond between your souls is strong," Gogo Nyarai explained. "In your past life, you and this man were deeply in love. But something tragic happened and your souls were separated. He has been searching for you ever since." Tafara felt a mixture of emotions, relief, sadness, and a glimmer of hope. "Is there any way for us to be together?" she asked. Gogo Nyarai smiled gently. "There is a way, but it will not be easy. You must be willing to open your heart and embrace the spirit world. There are rituals that can be performed to bring his spirit closer to you, to allow you to see and speak with him as if he were here in the flesh." Tafara's heart swelled with determination. "I will do whatever it takes," she said firmly. Over the next few days, Tafara and Gogo Nyarai prepared for the rituals. They gathered herbs, candles, and other items needed for the ceremonies. Tafara learned to meditate and open her mind to the spirit world. She spent hours in quiet reflection, focusing on her love for the man in her dreams. On the night of the full moon, Tafara and Gogo Nyarai went to a sacred grove on the outskirts of the village. The air was cool and crisp, and the moon cast a silvery glow over the landscape. They set up a small altar with candles and herbs, and Gogo Nyarai began to chant in a language that Tafara did not understand. Tafara closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling a strange energy fill the air around her. She could hear the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Suddenly, she felt a presence beside her. She opened her eyes and gasped. Standing before her was the man from her dreams. He looked exactly as she remembered, tall and handsome, with kind eyes that seemed to look straight into her soul. He smiled at her, and she felt her heart skip a beat. "Tafara," he said softly, "it's me, Tendai." Tafara's eyes filled with tears. "Tendai," she whispered, "is it really you?" "Yes, my love," Tendai replied. "I have been searching for you for so long. I never gave up hope that I would find you again. Tafara reached out and took Tendai's hand. It felt warm and solid, just like in her dreams. I missed you so much, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. I missed you too, Tendai said, but now we are together again, and nothing can separate us. Gogo Nyarai watched them with a knowing smile. The bond between your souls is strong, she said. But remember, Tendai is still a spirit. He cannot stay in this world forever. You must cherish the time you have together. Tafara nodded, determined to make the most of their time. Over the next few weeks, Tendai and Tafara spent every moment they could together. They walked through the village hand in hand, shared stories of their past life, and dreamed of a future where they could be together forever. As the days passed, Tendai's presence grew stronger. He was able to interact with the physical world more easily, and Tafara's love for him deepened. But they both knew that their time together was limited. Tendai's spirit would eventually have to return to the spirit world. One evening, as they sat by the river, Tendai took Tafara's hand in his. Tafara, he said, there is something I need to tell you. Tafara looked at him, her heart heavy with anticipation. What is it, Tendai? There is a way for us to be together forever, Tendai said, but it requires a great sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? Tafara asked, her voice barely a whisper. I can become human again, Tendai explained, but to do so, you must be willing to give up something very precious to you. Your love for me must be strong enough to overcome any obstacle. Tafara's mind raced. What could be more precious to her than her love for Tendai? She thought of her family, her village, her life, but then she realized that without Tendai, none of those things would matter. I will do it, Tafara said firmly. I will make the sacrifice. Tendai smiled, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. Thank you, my love, he said. Together we can overcome anything. The next day, Tafara and Tendai went to see Gogo Nyarai. The elder listened carefully as Tendai explained the situation. She nodded thoughtfully, her eyes filled with understanding. There is a ritual that can be performed, Gogo Nyarai said, but it will require great strength and courage. Are you both ready for this? Tafara and Tendai exchanged a look, their hands tightly clasped together. Yes, they said in unison. Gogo Nyarai instructed them to return to the sacred grove that evening. They gathered the necessary items for the ritual and prepared themselves mentally and emotionally for what was to come. As the sun set and the moon rose, Tafara and Tendai stood hand in hand before the altar. Gogo Nyarai began to chant, calling upon the spirits to lend their strength and guidance. The air around them grew thick with energy, and Tafara felt a strange sensation in her chest. Tafara, Gogo Nyarai said, her voice steady and calm, you must now make your sacrifice. Think of what is most precious to you and offer it to the spirits. Tafara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She thought of her family, her village, her life. She thought of the love she had for Tendai and the happiness they had shared. And then, with all her heart, she made her decision. I offer my life, Tafara said, her voice clear and strong. I give up my life so that Tendai can become human and we can be together forever. Gogo Nyarai nodded, her eyes filled with sadness and admiration. The spirits have heard your sacrifice, she said. Now, Tendai, you must accept this gift and make your transformation. Tendai looked at Tafara, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. Thank you, Tafara, he said. I will always love you. With that, Tendai closed his eyes and focused on the energy around him. He felt a strange warmth spread through his body, and he began to glow with a soft golden light. Tafara watched in awe as Tendai's form began to solidify, becoming more and more human with each passing moment. Finally, the light faded, and Tendai stood before her, fully human. He reached out and took Tafara's hand, pulling her into a tight embrace. "We did it," Tendai said, his voice filled with joy. "We are together again." Tafara felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had given up everything for Tendai, and now they could finally be together. But as she looked into his eyes, she felt a strange sensation in her chest. Her vision began to blur, and she felt herself growing weaker. "Tafara," Tendai said, his voice filled with concern. "What's happening?" "I don't know," Tafara said, her voice faint. "I feel so weak." Gogo Nyarai stepped forward, her eyes filled with understanding. "The sacrifice has been made," she said. "Tafara has given up her life so that Tendai can become human. Her spirit is now leaving this world." Tendai's eyes filled with tears. "No," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "There must be another way." Gogo Nyarai shook her head sadly. "This is the price that must be paid," she said. "But do not despair. Tafara's spirit will live on in the spirit world, and you will be reunited again someday." Tafara looked at Tendai, her heart filled with love and sorrow. "I will always love you, Tendai," she said. "No matter where I am, I will always be with you." Tendai held her tightly, his tears falling freely. "I will never forget you, Tafara," he said. "I will always love you." With those final words, Tafara's vision faded completely, and she felt herself drifting away. Her spirit rose from her body, and she felt a strange sense of peace and freedom. She looked down and saw Tendai holding her lifeless body, his heart breaking with grief. But as she looked closer, she saw something else. Tendai's eyes were filled with determination and strength. He would carry on, and he would honor her sacrifice. And one day, they would be reunited in the spirit world. Tafara smiled, her heart filled with love. She knew that their love was eternal, and nothing could ever truly separate them. With that thought in her mind, she let go and allowed herself to be carried away by the spirit world, knowing that she would always be with Tendai in heart and soul. And so, the story of Tafara and Tendai became a legend in the village. Their love was remembered for generations, a testament to the power of true love and the strength of the human spirit. And every night as the moon rose high in the sky, the villagers would look up and remember the love that transcended time and space, and the sacrifice that made it possible.